Meeting the Amherst Township Trustees called to order. Please stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Abraham?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Urick?
Yes.
And Kish are all present. I have the meeting minutes from the February 25th, 2025 regular meeting of the Amherst Township Trustees. The meeting was called to order at 7:01 p.m. by Lynch, pledge to the flag. Roll call, Abraham, Lynch, Urick, and Kish were all present. Also in attendance, M. Orozco, K. Smarsh, R. Maggio, J. Burns, M. Burns, and R. Vatsik. At 2/5/25, a motion by Urick, seconded by Lynch, to approve the regular meeting minutes of February 11th, 2025 as corrected. Roll call, all ayes. Abraham abstained. 2/6/25, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick. Move to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listing as presented. All ayes. 2/7/25, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick. Move to approve that the January 2025 credit card account transaction detail has been reviewed per policy and is accepted as presented, subject to investigation. All ayes. Fiscal officer reported that work continues on the 2022-2023 audit and will continue this weekend. Permanent appropriations will be available for the March 11th, 2025 meeting or the March 25th meeting. Under audience concerns, Jay Mertz planning on a car show on a weekend the end of May at Speedway and was looking for any permits that would be needed for the event. Under correspondence, County Recorder Mike Duran at April 8th, 2025 meeting, Tax Incentive Review Council meeting at 10:20 a.m. on March 6th, 2025 on the 5th floor of the County Administration Building. Lorraine County Public Health District Advisory Council will hold their annual meeting on Thursday, March 27th, 2025 at 6 p.m. at 9880 Murray Ridge Road, Elyria, Ohio, 44035. Subdivision Review Committee meeting on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 at 2 p.m. in the Commissioners' Public Hearing Room, 4th floor Conference Room B for Four Seasons 168 lot expansion and Sandstone Mill Run 109 lot expansion. Lastly, Trustee Lynch noted that the zoning inspector was changing his office hours for the zoning office effective February 24th, 2025. Hours will be Monday and Friday from 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m., and Sam will also be available for appointments. Under reports, for ambulance, quarterly meeting of the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District on Thursday, March 13th, 2025 at the Amherst Fire Station at 11 a.m. Under zoning, zoning inspector was not in attendance, so Trustee Lynch noted there is a BZA meeting on February 26, 2025. On March 4th, 2025, Jacob Shields will give an informal presentation on a proposed development north of State Route 113, east of State Route 58, for a proposed zoning amendment for a housing development. Under road, park, and cemetery, Road Superintendent Smarsh reported regular maintenance on schedule. New dump truck's still not here, but we are hoping we'll be receiving it soon. Yard waste grinding is done, but due to the inclement weather, it was not hauled away. We'll get an update tomorrow. Under Lorco, Grafton, Eaton, and Carlisle Township are booming with growth. The monthly meetings are now being held in Spencer, Ohio. Under complaints, they are being handled by the designated individual. 2/8/25, a motion by Lynch, seconded by Urick, for support of State Issue 2 renewal of the State Capital Improvement Program on the May 6, 2025 statewide ballot. All ayes. The next regularly scheduled meeting will be on Tuesday, March 11, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the Amherst Township Hall. 2/9/25, a motion by Urick, seconded by Abraham, to adjourn at 7:49 p.m. All ayes.
Are there any changes or corrections to the February 25th meeting minutes?
I have none.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve as presented.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Okay, you also have in front of you the financial reports, payment listing, pretty much boilerplate. You'll see that there's 2 voids there for Horseman. I was having an issue because he's in our system twice, and I wanted to make sure that I had the one with his address because I don't want him to not get a 1099 at the end of the year. So I fixed that this evening.
Okay.
So if there's any questions on the payment listing, and then I have our year-to-date revenue is $130,931.02. And our year-to-date expenditures is $247,736.95. expecting first half any day.
That'll look much nicer then.
Yes, it will.
Revenue will catch up to expenditures.
But that's to be expected.
I'm going to make a motion then to approve the financial reports and payment of the items on the payment listing as specified in the document provided by the fiscal officer.
Second.
Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
And that's, is that
That's
3-1?
3-2.
3-2?
3-1 was the minutes,
Okay,
3-2 is
thank
the
you.
financials. And then 3-3 could be the appropriations if that's where we're
Yep.
going with it.
That's the next one, Chris, that's up there. There's no credit card review. And did you have anything to report? I actually have on the 2022-2023 audit status. Anything to update?
I had to say that the field work is hopefully completed on the 22-23 audit. I'm waiting for the state auditor to complete his work, which I'm almost certain it will cause more questions. So when we get to that point, hopefully we're at the light at the end of the tunnel. I
Okay.
know he said he had to start the county, so they are now in a time crunch to get us
Get it
off
done.
their plate.
Yeah. Get
First
the
it was
small-
hurry up, no wait. Now it was take your time. Now it's hurry up again. So
Yeah, well, we're small fish versus the county, that's for sure. So, well, then let's go to the 2025 permanent annual appropriation, and it is up on the screen too, Chris, but everybody's got a copy here. And there's really been minor changes, as Chris has reported in the past. Does anyone have any questions on the budget there?
yeah, the minor changes are as I print out a report seeing what I've spent so far this year, and if it's iffy, there might have been a few dollars added here or there.
Well, then I'm going to make a motion to provide for the current expenses and other expenditures of the said Board of Amherst Township Trustees during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2025. The following sums be, and the sums are hereby set aside and permanently appropriated for the several purposes for which the expenditures are to be made for and during said fiscal year. And the Amherst Township Fiscal Officer shall provide the township budget on such forms or in such format as required by Lorraine County Auditor. The rest is all boilerplate. I'm not going to read the numbers because they are displayed here and everyone's got a copy. So it will be on, when the township video gets processed, any of the public can see it if they want to. And as Chris said, there's very minor changes from the temporary budget we passed. So that'll be my motion.
Second.
What motion is that?
That is 3-3. No discussion. Lynch?
Yes.
Urick?
Yes.
Abraham?
Yes.
Okay. And Georgianne, can you bring up the inside millage revenue now, please? Okay, what you've got here, there's been quite a bit of discussion on the increase in appraised values, and I know the auditor's been hearing quite a bit of information from residents, particularly when he went around and held some meetings for people to come in that had any questions. And as he explained at the last Lorraine County Township Association meeting held here in our township hall, you know, he just gave a quick synopsis to people, though the average increase in assessed value of homes, and much of it based on sales, actual sales, was 35%. But he cautioned people, that doesn't mean your taxes are going up 35%. The only thing on that assessed value that automatically impacts every community if they had no new levy put on is, that's me. Sorry about that. If you had no new levy put on, the only impact is the inside millage. and there's 10 mills max in each tax district, and that gets split up between every political entity within a tax district. So for instance, in Amherst Township, you pick a tax district where we've got Amherst Schools gets a portion, Amherst Township gets a portion, Lorraine County Board of Commissioners gets a portion, so they all get a portion of it. In our case, of those 10 mills, Amherst Township receives 3. So only 3 mills will go up. The other voted levies we have are for the fire and EMS. We've got also a 1 mill levy for, and that's we got a 1 mill levy for roads. We've got a 1.8 mill levy for fire and EMS. And we have a 0.5 mill levy for the ambulance and emergency medical service. But none of those are going to increase. Those are fixed at the time that the voters approve them. And I think we'll probably be this next year be on the ballot for asking for most likely a renewal of the road levy, because that one's every 5 years. But what the real question always is, well, what's that mean in terms of additional revenue to the township? And Georgianne's actually got them highlighted here. So I think she highlighted the city of Amherst because they're one of our neighbors, Amherst Township and the county. So if you look at the county and their revenue increase as a result of this reassessment is going to be $4.2 million additional revenue that the county will see. And we will probably see that in the second half of this year for half of our increase. If you look at the city of Amherst, the city of Amherst is looking at an increase of $408,000. And then if you look at Amherst Township, we actually will see an increase of $173,000. So basically about $173,000. And that $173,000 is going to be split between our roads and general fund, because that's the split we have right now, with 2 mills going to roads and 1 mill going to the general fund. So essentially, 1/3 of that would go to the general fund, so it'd be under $60,000, and the balance would go to the road fund. But the other levies are all fixed. So I just want to see that, and Chris will probably be seeing half of that, so we might see $86,000 coming in the second half more than what we were accustomed to. And that's assuming everybody pays the tax. Obviously, there's some that don't get paid and are handled later. But that's just informational purposes, because that's usually the biggest question is how does it impact our community? So those are the real numbers. And when we have to start paying on that new truck, that's going to be very helpful. Okay, there's no residents here, so we'll move on to correspondence and announcements. Chris?
I have none.
David?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, Denny?
Nothing.
All right, well, the first one is just a repeat, so we don't forget. County Recorder Mike Duran's going to be here at our trustee meeting on April 8th. The next one, the tax incentive the tax incentive review council met last Thursday. Georgianne, can you bring the tax incentive review council information up? Okay, what these are is in Amherst Township, there are 3 tax incremental financing districts. They're all county, for short, TIFs. And essentially what the TIFs do is the increased property value from a result of development is that obviously produces additional revenue. That revenue, instead of going to all of the entities that would normally get it, and usually about 2/3 goes to our local schools. For Amherst Township, it's usually about 8 to 10% depending upon what district, that actually come to the township. Well, instead of those going out to the entities that it normally would go to, whether it's inside millage or voted millage, that revenue that from the increased value is directed to pay for the infrastructure that was put in support of that development. Well, David and I were both at the county last Thursday for the meeting of the Tax Incentive Review Council. The first one that was addressed was the Sandstone TIFs. There are 2 TIF districts in Sandstone. No one from the developer was able to make it, but they did send a written report. The schools, unfortunately, they had changed the time for us to accommodate between several different school districts, but it's my understanding somehow there was miscommunication of the school district, so they weren't present. I did follow up later, since these are both in the Amherst School District, and I contacted the superintendent as to what was discussed there and told him that we were expecting some additional information we requested. When I receive that, I'll send that over to him also. But the first one, the Sandstone TIF District, one, that consists of the Redwood properties, which we see they're under construction. We've actually got renters back there already. So they had planned on starting to rent them out in the middle of March, but they're a little ahead of schedule. They're building the property in 2 phases. The first phase consists of 152 units and 54 in the second phase. 127 of the first phase units are projected to be completed in 2025, and the other 25 units in the first phase in the Q1 of 2026. The second phase is going to be dependent upon the lease-up rate of the first phase, so they'll look at that as to how quickly they're renting out and at what level they're renting out in terms of monthly rent before they go forward on the second phase. Redwood has completed 5 units in January of 2025, 10 in February, and projects a completion of 10 more in March, 14 in April, 12 in May, 12 in June, 12 in July, 12 in August, 8 in September, 8 in October, 12 in November, and 12 in December, for a total of 127 completed units in 2025. A good amount of those already have the footers and the foundation poured. They're all on slabs, and many of them have structure up. It's just finishing a lot of the internals that are there also. If anyone cares to, you can go back and take a tour now and see finished units. Now you will need somebody to let you in because the doors are locked. If you've been going up there during construction, you're able to walk right through it, but things are locked up now. When that's completed, and this number can vary, it's going to be like 205 to 207 units. I think Linda might have a better number on that since she's assigned addresses. I took this from old data I had as far as the total because they were debating on some 1-bedroom units versus the 2-bedroom units. And to my knowledge, though it might change in the second phase, they're just going to stick with the one-bedroom unit that's in the first phase. But we'll see how people jump at that one. The second one, the Sandstone TIF District number 2, that consists of 194 homes by Ryan Homes and 264 by Cahovenian. First off, as far as the turf meeting, no TIF revenues being collected yet. And I'll get into that as far as a trigger point when they will start collecting. Ryan Homes has sold 22 homes for completion in 2025. They estimate another 30 homes that will be sold, homes to be sold, with 14 of those completed in 2025 for a total completion of 36 homes by year end. Cahovenian, and that's where it's the 55 and over age restricted area, they've sold 23 homes for completion in 2025. They project another 20 to be sold, with 21 of those homes to be completed for a total of 44 completed by year end. So the total of 80 homes are projected to be completed in 2025. Each builder is contracted to purchase 40 lots per year, so the projections are 80 homes per year in 2026 and 80 in 2027. The Sandstone County TIFs are 100% for 30 years. But a $30 million property value improvement within each TIF district will trigger the start of collection of the payments in lieu of taxes to service the debt of the infrastructure supporting the Sandstone development. Compensation agreements between Lorraine County Board of Commissioners, Amherst Exempted Village School District, and the Amherst Township Board of Trustees were approved in February of 2023. And this board did pass that by resolution after a lot of negotiation back and forth. The service payments received by the county derived from the incentive districts for years 1 through 20 of the TIF shall be provided to the Township, Amherst Exempted Village School District, Lorraine County Joint Vocational School District in an amount equal to 65% of the amount the township and the schools would have received in the absence of the TIF exemption. Now keep in mind, this is different from, I may not have mentioned, the Hampshire Farms. Well, we haven't gotten to that, but we'll see where it's different from Hampshire Farms. So in this case, the schools and the township will still receive 65% of what they would have received had there not been a TIF as a result of the increased value. The in payment years 21 through 30 of the TIF term, payments to the township and Amherst Exempted Village Schools and Lorraine County Joint Vocational Schools will be 100% of the amount the township and the schools would have received in the absence of the TIF. So essentially, after 20 years, as far as the schools and the township are concerned, the TIF won't impact us at all. So you're really talking predominantly those county-wide levies, so things like the health district, 911, mental health, all the other different services that our property tax dollars pay for. And this hats off again to the schools. They worked with the township on that because the original presentation of the township did not favor us in any way. And we're aware with over 5 miles of additional township roads back there to take care of, stormwater to take care of, the added burden that's going to be on the ambulance and fire service that we pay for, we would have gotten additional costs and no revenue. They did say they'd work with us on that, but the way the law is, we really didn't have a say. If we didn't agree to something, they could just say, well, too bad, you take what we give. The schools have a little more power, and we partnered with the schools, and they had some good experts and attorneys and financial managers that had a lot of familiarity with the TIFs. And so essentially we were all in unison on working this out for the benefit of everybody, including the county. Now, Hampshire Farms, that's a 51-home development. Those homes are all completed. The last one sold in April of 2024, so that's fully built out. The Hampshire Farm TIF is 75% for 10 years to cover the debt of the sanitary infrastructure extension. So this is kind of the opposite of Sandstone. We only receive, the schools and the township, 25% of what we would have received and the increased value had there been no TIF. But there was no negotiation. We really don't have a say in that because if it's under, if it's that 10 years, 75% is the max the county can go without requiring approval of the schools. But the subdivision consists of 51 single-family homes, all homes sold between 2022 and 2024, with a price range of $267,030 to $404,210, with an average price of just a little over $336,000. I mentioned at the Turk meeting, I thought that low one seemed like to be an outlier because most of them were above 300,000. Again, the average was 336. There was, so far, they've just collected a little under 87,000 in payment in lieu of taxes in 2024, which was for the last half of 2023 property taxes. We requested the infrastructure debt value, the payoff terms, the estimated payoff date. We're still waiting for that information from Lorraine County Community Development. So when we get that information, I'll share it with the trustees and also with the schools. And just a reminder, and Chris has it in our minutes from the last meeting, March 25th, Lorraine County Subdivision Review Subcommittee meeting for the four-season 168 lot expansion, and Sandstone Mill Run 109 lot expansion. And that will include new roads. Also have Lorraine County Public Health District Advisory Council meeting will be on March 27th, Lorraine County Public Health. I will be attending there as the voting member for the township, but everyone's welcome to attend. The next one is a question on geocaching. And you've got it in your packet. There's been a gentleman that's, through our website, contacted the township. This geocaching is, and you've got the document there that shows geocaching at the metro parks allow. Basically, they construct these boxes and they have a logbook in them, and they might have some other trinkets that are sealed in there, and people use GPS to find these items, record when they find them. It's kind of like a high-tech scavenger hunt. And this gentleman, Daniel Andrella, must be into this, and he was wondering, he just says Township Park, not necessarily Amherst Township. Well, Georgianne shows our park up here, and Georgianne, if you can move the arrow around it, you've got the area that's more active, that's about 10 acres, and then we have the area there right to the south, the conserved area is a little over 3.5 acres. And since he says that these things will all be hung from trees, you're really just talking the conserved area. And you can read his email later if you haven't already. He talks about them being out of the line of sight. Well, again, that means you're in the conserved area. But if you look at that conserved area, you go a little bit further to the south, you see there's a private property there that's all treed. And then also going to the west, where all the property owners along Hidden Valley Drive, they purchased additional land from the previous owner of this, just like the township was able to get a grant to get that 3.5 acres. So they've got extended yards that are treed. You know, for me, it's going to be difficult for somebody to know where's the township park end and private property begin. And again, we're very small, so I've obviously got my preconceived view on this, but Linda needs to give this gentleman a yes or no answer. So I want to bring it before the trustees to hear what your feelings are on this.
I have no feelings.
David?
Just this idea of people putting things in the park that we're not aware of. And when it comes to maintenance and repair, what if we're down to mow grass or cut a tree down and it takes out one of those geocaches? We don't know, because we don't know where they're at. That's one. And the second thing is, I'm a little leery of any kind of responsibility. If something would happen to it, or if they put something on the ground and somebody trips over it, you know, are we liable in that way? In some ways, they want to put things in. I really don't see it as necessarily causing a big problem, but at the same time, it's just, you know, I'm just a little leery about all the extra responsibility, you know, the responsibility we have now because we got soccer programs and baseball programs, and then we're going to have an AED program down there. So, see come saw, but, you know, it would bring people into the township, and we could promote our park that way, because people would come in to look for, you know, their geocache things. Tell them, you know, we don't have any regulations at this time, but that doesn't mean that at some point in the future we won't have some. And, I suppose we could You know, we could allow it, but if we allowed it, we probably would want regulation like what the metro parks have. In the metro parks, you know, we would have to adapt some kind of regulations on that. And we have to amend whatever it is, pass a resolution, and amend some kind of policy manual, whatever else. We've got the information in. Like I say, it's, you know, we don't have any regulations on it. He wants to put it down there. It's caveat emptor, but we can't guarantee anything for him.
Okay, well, David, I see the pros and cons. As I've thought about this, I've gone back and forth, but I think I'd lean your way right now. Not additional information, I'm just concerned with it. First off, they wouldn't put any on the ground, and, you know, it's all explained in here. Then I copied the rules that the metro parks have today, because the metro parks allow these in all but 2 parks. One was Shelfway Garden. I forget which other park they have, but 2 other parks they don't have it. And from what I can find online, I think it was in 2021, they started this at Beaver Creek Park, which is part of the metro parks. But now it appears, because there's also a geocaching website that keeps track of where these are, it looks like someone probably stopped maintaining it because there's no information on it anymore. But, you know, they're hung in trees. I'm just concerned, as you said, we may have to do some maintenance. But Kevin, you know this park, that conserved area, like go down there now, it's probably wet in the treed area. So nobody's, you know, going to be sloshing through there without causing some damage or getting wet. And come summertime, there's definitely lots of poison ivy in that area. Unless you're an experienced hiker with the right clothing and know how to wash up afterwards, probably going to have poison ivy when you're done. And we've got all sorts of wildlife in there. Not the larger wildlife, but the smaller ones. Well, you do remember, David, when we had the flooding and Kevin and Russ were down here and you and I went down about 3 o'clock in the morning. Remember the coyote running across Hidden Valley Drive into our park?
Yeah.
So they're down in the valley. But he went right into the park. So I think at this point, Linda, let's just ask him, is he just talking one, but we're probably, let him know the trustees are leaning no unless he can give us some more information or come and plead his case in person, you know, and at that point he might want to bring in one of these boxes. But, and also you might want to try and find out, is he really talking our park? Because it just says Township Park. You know, where he lives, he's close to the Rolla Nature Preserve, which is a much bigger park than ours and might be more
I'll let him know the size of
useful.
our park too, the conserved area.
Yeah, just a small 3.5 acres that's in there.
Okay.
You know, and it gets heavily used with walkers and bikers, and but going into that wooded area isn't going to be a real fun walk. It's, I mean, regardless of what season you go in there.
I'll
But
CC
okay.
you on the email that I
Okay.
send out tomorrow.
And again, I'm just concerned, though, obviously if it was just one person responsible, and then we'd have to develop a permit process and, you know, how it's maintained and taken out, just like the Metro Parks has. I mean, we'd probably copy the same thing. I just don't know that, you know, we could show them, hey, you can't go past this area, that's all private property. But if anybody's coming in and they're actually walking in the wooded area searching for it, you know, how's he going to maintain control of that? You know, they're looking for the thing with a GPS, you know, and if they got a bad GPS, they're going to the wrong spot. It might be close, but not right on it. Okay. Okay, we'll move on then to reports. Ambulance District does have a meeting this Thursday at 11 o'clock, and I know Dave Freeman, one of our reps, won't be able to be there, but Melissa Gilker and myself will be there. Trustees are welcome to attend. The zoning inspector, he gave you his report. Sam's not here. You can see collections so far this year for permits. You know, and this is obviously way more than we're used to, but it's because of the developments going on. So far, it's $19,224 collected, in park fees, $2,500. This isn't completely updated because Chris had read off a larger amount on this. He put them,
Oh, I don't get.
no, he just put it in our box, but you've got a larger
Oh.
amount because you're seeing the actual checks come in.
Yeah, I know, I just like to fill that in.
Yeah. Well, I'll get you a copy here, Chris. You can actually look at this. It's the only one I have. It was in our box. You can see the new homes that have been constructed so far this year. I can't tell you now since I don't have it here, but it's a little dated because, you know, that would have been at the time Sam put it in the box. As far as the zoning commission, I did want to give an update. I did get a call from Giant Eagle this week, letting me know that, you know, they just said, hey, we probably should touch base now more frequently. Hadn't heard from them for a while, but they got hung up. They said two things. They had their stormwater plan they had to go back and forth on to get that approved. They said that took much longer than they expected. There was also a First Energy easement they were dealing with, and they believe they've got everything resolved, so they expect that within the next couple of weeks, we'll probably see the property transfer there from the old Golden Acres property to Giant Eagle. That's at roughly a little over 5.5 acres up there, and then they'll be moving on from that. They'll be able to go on construction. There's also you heard in the minutes, Chris talked about Justin Shield from Gray Fox regarding a 31-acre parcel on the north side of State Route 113, just east of the intersection with 58. He had given an informal presentation to the zoning commission that would have been on the March 4th. Well, he's actually turned in a zoning map amendment request, so he'll be asking for, right now the property's a combination of RAG, which is residential 1 acre, and GB1, which is general business. The request is for rezoning to R1, which is half-acre lots with a conservation development overlay. So what he's looking at is the woods to the north, conserving those and putting a walking path in all around it. There'd be a small part in like a circle they have that they also want to set up for the cluster boxes and a gazebo and gathering place for future residents there. The one he presented to the zoning commission was 50-foot by 150-foot lots, but they said they'd really like to go with the 60-foot wide lots since they're anticipating more 3-car garages in this with slightly larger homes. If that's the case, he would have to push into the wooded area a little bit more going to the north to get those larger lots. Myself, I prefer the larger lot. You know, it's a balancing act. That gives us a little longer road and storm sewer to take care of, Kevin, but you expect the home value also to be higher since they'll be putting in the larger homes there. So it's a trade-off, but you know, I'm sure he'll do whatever the township does, you know, approves, but my preference is for the slightly larger lots there. Also, Linda informed me that Stratton Corners dropped off a site, an updated plan for site plan review, but it was after Sam had already left. And have you contacted Sam at all? We might want to let him know since he's only coming in on Mondays and Fridays.
I have not, no. I can call him tomorrow.
If you will, and I'll try and call him too, just in case one of us forget. I just don't want to say I'll call him and then miss him. But let's let him know, because you recall, is it 15 days notice they have to give the zoning commission? So who dropped it off?
I don't know, it was in our green box.
Oh, okay. I just wonder if they were expecting to be on also on the April 1st
They
agenda.
could make it as long as Sam gets it out.
Yeah,
the
but I'm just
16th.
wondering the person that brought it in, if that was their plan. They have any note with it or anything?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
I don't know if they've talked to Sam.
okay. Okay, and then the Zoning Board of Appeals, you heard in the minutes that they did have a variance hearing on February 26th. This was for a property at 46325 Telegraph Road and State Route 113. That was on the south side. I'm not going to read off the parcel numbers. But the reason this area variance is the two gentlemen that were here and that was approved, they want to put up some additional warehouses there and clean up the property. They didn't say they had a specific, they're planning on owning it and leasing it out. They didn't have somebody yet. They wanted to make sure they got this approval first. And I would assume, I was at the meeting. I can't tell you what all went into the logic of the BZA because they go into deliberations and I don't know what they discussed, but I know the presenters had given the property owners on either side of them, they tried to get additional property to make it conforming. Neither one of the adjacent property owners were willing to sell any property to them. And so they've got a narrow frontage. It's a non-conforming even right now, and then it widens at the back. But the BZA did grant that variance. So now that they got the variance approved, they'll be coming to the township in the future for their site plans. So I'm sure we'll hear more of that in the future. There's also, tomorrow, the BZA will be meeting here at the township for webinar training, which will be on a large screen. So if anybody, Dave in particular, if you want to show up and see what training they're going through, you'll have the opportunity in a group. This is through the, the training, what do they call it, the registration we have with the OTA. Yeah, so, what's that, Chris?
The educational aspect that we get.
Yeah, I just forget what they call that, where you get to sign up. So instead of paying for each class, you pay for the year and you actually save money. So the BZA will be coming in. I don't know if all of them, it sounded like they're all going to be here. They also have on March 19th, there's a conditional use hearing for 140 Telegraph Road. And here the application says to display and sell lawn furniture, concrete statuary, storage barns, and chicken coops. They don't all seem to go together, but it's a variety. So if you're interested in hearing what happens, that'll be on March 19th. Any questions on zoning? Okay, roads, parks, and cemeteries, Superintendent Smarsh.
All regular maintenance in progress. Where potholes, major potholes. The yard waste has been hauled out this week. Tomorrow, it appears that it should be completed. He'll be leaving roughly 10 yards of this year's grindings.
And that's just for residents to use if they want it?
Yes, sir. Yep. There was still some left from last year that was there, which would still be into it, would just be adding to.
Does it, the grinding look pretty good for residents to use, Kevin?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering only because it's, she didn't get it finished yet. Georgianne's putting a newsletter together. She may want to just put a quick little blurb there. And would they just call the township? I know they can go out and shovel it in themselves too.
Yeah, most of the time they get in touch with me if they got a big enough pickup truck to where
Yeah.
I can give them half a bucket or whatever. But most of the time they just shovel it. They're shoveling it in buckets and whatnot.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty clean. It's pretty decent stuff.
Okay, good.
Yeah, on the furnace, we found another little problem that was going on, and come Friday, parts will be in tomorrow, but he won't be able to get here till Friday. We have that up to par, and it is covered under warranty.
Oh, good.
Not me.
We all look, it's like, no, my car's over there. All you have to do is move when it's in your pocket.
Oh, must have been Denny.
Was there anything else, Kevin?
No, that's all I have.
Okay. Any update on the truck status?
No.
All right, there was, and this would actually be under roads, and one, Linda, you might know, I know when you were on vacation, is Morgan did send an email to the Stormwater District checking on the status of our second mini grant. And I know last week or the week before, she hadn't heard back. I don't know if anything more.
No, we've not heard from Don
Okay.
on the Rustic Hill one.
Well, it's not, and that's the issue, it's not a major concern yet because we won't be awarding that until later, but that's part of our match for the OPWC grant and Rustic Hill job.
And I do know when I sent it in, he did send a thing back saying received. So I know he did get it.
Yeah. And I'm trying to recall, we signed the MOU for the first one already. They've got all that, okay. And so we should, with the invoice from the grinding, be able to get that reimbursement.
As soon as we get the invoice and we get that it's been paid, we can send it over.
What's that?
Once we have like our payment voucher from Chris that we paid it with the invoice, then we can send it over for
I'm
reimbursement.
going to let between you, Kevin, and Chris
Yep.
to coordinate that, to get it as quick as we can, you know, once we pay it. But we've obviously got the funds to pay the bill and
Yeah,
get the reimbursement.
and it's a reimbursement, so we always have to show that we've paid it, proof of payment first.
Okay. And then the other thing, Kevin, just to keep under your hat to decide, and I brought this up at, when we were at the OTA Winter Conference, and since then the OTA sent out information where LTAP and ODOT clarified what they had said down there, is we are now eligible for another round of that safety sign grant for up to $50,000. And they did clarify it. We can definitely include South Amherst Village like we did in the past. And when we did the village before, we were restricted only to the northern half of the village that was still part of Amherst Township. The way I'm reading the communication they put out now, they just put, it doesn't even have to be part, you can work with an adjoining village and cover the whole village. So I don't know where we stand on our signs. No, it's the retroreflectivity is not an issue now because we've got all retroreflective signs, and these are just the safety signs, not the road name signs. But if we've got some where we're looking that they need to get replaced, if we can identify that, how much, we can put in that application. And it's like before where you check off how many of the different signs you want. If I recall, I think it's all online now. So we probably won't get where before they sent us sheets that we mark off. Okay? So just think about it because it's something we may want to apply for, or if you're not ready, we can put it off. But then as soon as we decide to do that, we want to coordinate with the village too. So if we can help them out and get them some additional funds for their village, but they won't be restricted like they were before. It can cover the whole village. It'd still be the same thing. How once that stuff gets dropped off, semi comes in and they drop off pallets, they won't separate it. Well, maybe they will this year. We'd have to ask. But in the past, they said they would not separate it. We had to receive it all as one load and separate it ourselves. Okay.
I remember doing that.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Township Administrator, Senior Services, Linda Ashley.
Not too much, just basics. I did a census. I think I talked to you guys about that last time, the census, the zoning valuation, how much for the permits for the new housing. So I did complete that in February. I got a notice from them the other day that we were past due. So I called them. Everything says completed online. It was
Yeah.
a mistake.
Okay.
So they're like, no, you have it done. So we did that. We're just working on trying to make listings of job duties and tasks and instructions so that if one of our employees do leave, a new employee would have something to,
Right,
some kind of
good.
guidance. And as we're going through things, as we're talking, we're going, oh yeah, they do that too, or this too, whatever.
That'll be helpful.
So we've been spending a lot of time on that. We're spending a lot of time on trying to figure out, like share files, how we can get our files up into a cloud system somewhere safely, and then we can pull them down because it's ineffective and the way that we're doing it now. Everybody's got the files on their computers and they're all different information on the files. We need to coordinate those so that we're working together instead of against each other. And then the credit card machine or system so that we can accept credit cards. We're working, and Chris is looking into that too. So hopefully we can find something so we can accept credit cards without any cost to the township. We're hoping to.
There was, did I give you that information from the OTA conference? On
I have the
credit cards?
cybersecurity information.
It was, maybe I didn't, it was through the, one of the vendors that was out there, one of the banks, and how they work it out with the community, so they don't pay anything, but they do, obviously they're collecting fees
Yeah.
with a separate line.
Yeah, we're trying not to have to switch banks or anything for this. We're trying to find something that we can work with the bank that we have that is very simple, easy. Bookkeeping would be easy, no fees. We're not trying to create any more work
Right,
for anybody.
Okay.
So,
You and Chris are talking about that then, right?
yeah, yep, and Morgan's making some phone calls, so all three of us are kind of working on it together.
I have a meeting with Huntington Thursday.
Okay, yeah, and we've got a couple other people that we've been in contact with, so. Other than that, I mean, that's keeping us kind of busy. And then we're doing zoning work too
Well,
on top of it,
Let
so.
me ask you something that make you go crazy and more busy, just to ask. I'll first start with the NOPEC community grant. Since we're not doing anything with the furnace, and we've talked about some options. Have you given that any thought?
No, I was waiting for the furnace to see if that was going to be a viable solution, that if he could fix it. So we'll go from there.
Okay. And then talk with the other trustees. I don't know if they've got the ideas here, but remember we've discussed if we take this facility, it will cover the energy audit just to determine if we do need to make a change here to actually save some money. We've got all the lighting changed. There's always the option, and that's something the trustees would have to decide if they wanted to go that route, is putting power down to the pavilions down there, which is another thing that they would cover. We just got to get our heads together where we're going to go with that, because you've got the one that's going to have to be spent. I
Right,
forget
it's
the
about
amount, but-
$3,000. Yeah, we have to spend it by the end of the year. And then that brings us to the House Bill 47, which I know no more information on. When I talked to Kim Arnold 2 weeks ago, she was hoping to talk to Kyle Brooks and was going to call me right back or email me, and that was 2 weeks ago. So I did hear from her once, and she said, I still haven't gotten, made contact with him. I know he's busy.
I was going to send to you, which backs up what I've told you, my own personal experience. And here it happened at the AutoZone on Broadway. Did you see that
I
in the
did see that.
paper? And it just happened to be the young lady that saved that man was also served as a lifeguard at Lakeview Beach. And all her time as a lifeguard and all her training, she never had to put it to use. Now she's working part-time at AutoZone, and it wasn't the AED that got it, it was her doing what her training
For
was.
CPR training, yeah.
And that's more important. The AEDs are still good to have, but it's right now we're just struggling with the practicality of this.
And we still don't have a clear answer on who has to do the training for the coaches and how we make sure that they have the training and who's responsible to monitor that. Per the Lorraine County Prosecutor's Office, she suggested we rewrite the contracts and include all the costs to the teams, to the athletic association, so it doesn't cost the township anything. But again, how many coaches do we have to train? How much is it going to cost? How do we divvy it up if the teams are playing in Amherst and in Amherst Township? Who's responsible?
Wasn't there like over 180 coaches
Yeah.
came down to
Yeah,
it?
it's crazy.
You know, and they're all volunteers.
And they're all volunteers, right? So we're still, we're coming up on a time crunch because they're going to start in April, end of April, May. We still don't have AEDs, nor do we know where we're going with that. And then that being said, the gentleman from the Amherst Athletic Association that signed the contract with us, Dave Parsons, he wants to know what the feasibility is to switch the contract over to the actual Amherst Athletic Association instead of him. So, I don't
Be
know
an
that
issue.
I don't know. I don't know what I think he wants to get out of it, is what I think. Kind of back away and let somebody else take over.
Well, eventually they all volunteers, they end up eventually
Right.
leaving. It's usually, some of them stick around even after their kids are no longer involved, but to expect that of somebody is very difficult. You mentioned the Amherst Athletic Association. I remember when David Taylor, years ago, it would have been probably 50 years ago, he was involved. And I got conscripted because I happened to be sitting in the stands watching a game, and a coach quit, and he literally came up to the stands pleading if anybody knew baseball. And two of us, we had no kids there. We were there, it just happened, this other guy, we were watching people we knew play, and then coached for several years till I could get out of it. And about, would have been 15 years later when we had kids, I was in college at the time, get back in, and there's Dave. His kids were grown, gone, no longer involved. And
Yeah.
he then got out of it and got back. But you've got to have those volunteers. We don't want to chase them away, and obviously we're concerned this bill is going to make people
Yeah,
antsy.
the only concern that I have about switching the contract at this point is if we do have to rewrite it to include the fees, as per the prosecutor said, do we want to do a new contract now and then maybe in a month or two have to do another new contract? Or do we want to just wait and see how it plays out and then do the contract?
Well, has the Amherst Youth Athletic League indicated they're interested?
To Dave, they have. To us, they have not.
Well, maybe I would say have some conversation with them also, because they're larger,
Okay.
and they might have some answer on that, because they also, obviously they play on school fields too.
Yeah, and I've talked
They
to the
used to use
school.
St. Joe's fields. I don't know if they still use those.
I don't know if they're allowed to use those anymore, if
Yeah,
St.
I think
Joe's
that
still.
went away, but
Yeah, I think they
and that was
stopped.
only for the very young, starting out kids. But, they might even have a feel for this because they used to have legal representation. Don't know if they do anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. So I'll check it out and then I'll let you guys know. But that is something that they were asking, or he was asking, I should say.
Yeah. Well, he's been involved a lot of years, right? It's probably time to move on.
Yeah. So other than that, that's all.
Okay. Any questions for Linda?
Nope.
Well, one more, just a parting shot, is also think, have to work with Kevin if there's any need to apply for the cemetery grant.
Yes, there probably will be, but I have to talk to Kevin about it.
Okay.
I'd like to clean up the headstones.
Yeah, I
if we
just
don't
don't
have anything
remember what
else.
the deadline was.
June 30th, I think it opens July 1st.
Okay.
It's the same fiscal year as what the OPWC is.
Okay.
So we do have on next Monday is a webinar on cemetery maintenance and that kind of stuff that I'm signed up for.
Okay.
And then I want to go into the OTA ones and look at those cemetery. There's one on cemetery headstones and things.
Okay.
So if we can preserve some of them, because they're in pretty bad shape.
Yeah, that's probably on the one in cleaning and prepping and
Mm-hmm.
reconditioning. That I didn't go to that session. They had that session in Columbus too, but it was probably in conflict with, they put multiples on at the same time, and you got to choose.
And I don't know what that entails. It might be way over, it just might be too big of a project to even take on, but
Or break it up.
yeah. So, but I'll talk to Kevin and see if he's got something that would supersede or take priority over cleaning headstones.
Okay, good. Are there any questions for Linda?
Well, I have one question for you, Linda. Did you give a soliciting permit to someone from gas or an electric?
I did, and I revoked it this morning. We gave it to him last Monday. I've gotten 2 complaints already. A lady called me this morning very distraught that he was at her door and explained to her that she got a letter in September from the township saying she needed to change, and he was very adamant that Amherst Township wanted everybody to change to IGS, and she
Yeah.
signed up at the door. And
Who was the contract with?
it's IGS Energy.
Well, IGS Energy, but who did you give the merchant?
His name is
permit to?
Braylon Watt.
Oh, it's a name?
It's a name, because it's an individual. They come in as individuals and get the permits. So he did tell her that, and she assumed that since we have like an aggregation with NOPEC and that we have Rumpke as a township, she thought, oh, maybe the trustees have signed up with these people and I'm going to get a better rate. So once she got an email with the rates on it, she compared it to what she's paying now and it was more. And she said, and I told him I was a senior citizen on a budget and fixed income. And now I just signed up for higher gas bills, higher electric bills. So I told her how to get out of it, and I called him right away and revoked it. I had another person call me too and complain that he was making it sound like the township wanted him to sign up.
See, there might be other people that fell for the line that you don't know about. Can you take whatever information you have with there and send it to NOPEC so they're aware of it and see what they decide to do?
As far as that he's going door to door?
Yeah, the information, because he filled out for the vendor
Yeah.
registration, that's public information. I'd let them know and let them decide if they want to do anything beyond that.
Okay.
They may want to have a contact with IGS and say, hey, this is what your representatives are doing.
Yeah, and so I did scold him this morning, and he didn't deny it, but he did bring the transient vendor permit back and gave it to me. So we have it.
I wonder if this is the same one that showed up at your mom's house,
It
David.
probably is.
Rather pushy, and we always explain to them, if we have any complaints or there are any violations of, the times or any of that, we will revoke your permits. And I thought this was serious enough that he's telling people that they need to sign up, that the township wants them to.
Kind of woke my sister up, and she's not a morning person. She kind of let him have both barrels.
Well, maybe that was a good thing. But yes,
Okay.
so there's one other transient vendor we have, and I can't tell you who it is. And I think he's through August. But, yeah.
All right, with the other items that are there with assigned responsibilities, is there anything to bring up? Good.
No, I have nothing.
Okay. There is, David, I'll leave it up to you. There's Lorraine County Beautiful Day Organizers Meeting, 9 o'clock Thursday, April 10th, at the Lorraine County Sustainability Learning Center. So I'm not going to go to that one, but I just want to mention that to you since you're our solid waste rep. Okay, our next regular meeting will be 7 o'clock Tuesday, March 25th. Any need for a work session, Kevin? Everything else going good? There's no audience here. Any need for an executive session? Okay, then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Abraham?
Yes.
Euring?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Sorry.